Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video I'm going to talk about some new information coming through, and some of it's just validation of where I felt things were going to be shifting at some point very soon, and topics about the soul and the soul trap in particular, okay, facets of duality. Okay, as we're bringing more energy, of more singularity energy, and the duality and the facets of what make up this duality are starting to be shifted out. The energy's changing. There's a transition occurring, and we're going to talk also about the higher selves as well, or what we're calling now the higher perspectives of self. Okay, that's probably more accurate to say it in that way. Okay, and just looking at it a little bit differently. So we'll get straight into it. This is really interesting stuff. There's going to be another part to this in depth about a particular component of the soul and the soul trap system, but we'll do that specifically in another video because there's a lot of information just purely on one thing. So let's get into the soul and the soul trap. Now the word soul is the trap. Okay, the soul is part of this reality, okay, and it's only part of this reality, and it's the mechanism used to recycle you. Okay, now you might have heard of a term phoenix from the flames, or a phoenix. Okay, and the phoenix essentially means to rise from the ashes, right? Now that is directly connected into the whole reincarnation model and the mechanism of us being recycled from one incarnation to another. The soul does that, okay? That's the mechanism to do that, okay? Now, I quite often butt heads with people in regards to this, and again, we're all going to have a different view of this, or perception or perspective of it, and that's fine. We're all uniquely individual, or individually unique, I should say. And that's something to be embraced. There's nothing to say, one person's right, one person's wrong. But quite often I butt heads about is this whole idea that a lot of people feel like we chose to come into here. And I quite often pull them up on that and say, well, if we chose to be here, perhaps we did choose to come here to help out, not knowing everything about this reality and what was actually happening, and we got trapped within it. Okay, but the fact that each incarnation that we have, if we were choosing to do that, we'd retain all the memories of our previous lifetimes or previous incarnations. And for a majority of us, we don't. We may have a gut feeling or a feeling of what could have happened, but no specifics about actually the details of what happened. And that's because the soul, before we go from one incarnation to the next, these wouldn't say it's a mind swipe, but those memories are blocked, so therefore it feels like you're kind of starting from scratch again when you're born and then when you die, the whole born-death scenario, okay? But there's this feeling within you that you know that something's not right, or there's a connection to something earlier than that. And that's because the soul still contains all that information. It's like a big sack of memories that you take from one lifetime into the next, and into the next lifetime, into the next lifetime. You have the feeling of it, but the specific analytical aspects of why it's like that is kind of been blocked from us, okay? And hence why we have the cycle of life, a short cycle of life, so we don't gain the wisdom to know any better and know the fact that we've been trapped here against our free will, okay? So the whole soul trap thing is the soul itself, okay? The soul is not the ceiling of where we want to go. We want to go beyond that, okay? We want to go beyond this reality, because that's when we get into the higher perspective of self. Why we call it a higher perspective of self is because it's beyond this reality. It's not bound to the limitations of this reality. And a limitation of this reality is time itself. in this reality, we've got to take one foot and put it in front of the other, okay, until we meet what we need to meet in 5 minutes time, half an hour time, or so on, okay. But our higher perspectives of health, higher perspectives of self, sees the whole picture. They're not bound to time, so they can see the past, present, future, all happening at the same time. And hence why it's so good to get that intuition in, to give us the guidance of where we need to go, the right path, what we need to do. Okay, and the right path is to gather the wisdom to figure out that we've been trapped here and that we need to ascend out of this place. Hence the word ascension. Okay, so we need to go beyond the soul. And actually, a friend of mine, and we've done a session before, sent me something the other day and about the word solar system, and I never looked at it in this way. Very interesting, and amazing how things just seem to fall in place when you have got a focus. And at the moment, the focus is about the whole soul and the reincarnation and all that aspect of things, and hence I get some information about the solar system and how it connects with what I'm trying to figure out. Now, we look at the two words of solar system, solar, like the sun, right? And then system, right? So it's a system revolving around the sun, or the star. But what about if we changed it into, instead of soul, instead of S-O-L, S-O-U-L, and then lure, L-U-R-E, system. So it's a system where they lure your soul in, or trap you within a reality, or in a prison world. Found that very interesting. Never have seen that before. And she shared some kind of ancient text to show some information regarding that. Very, very interesting. Now, it's interesting to get to really go into depths in regards to our language and certain words and terminology that have been used for a very long time, to break it down very simplistically, okay, very simply, to try and figure out what it really symbolizes, okay? And I do this a lot with people. You know, even the stuff that we see in their movies. So, have, for example, a vampire. What's the symbology of it, though? We think, you know, we get programmed from a kid that, hey, a vampire's in a black coat with fangs, sleeps during the day and wakes at night. And it feeds on blood, right? Sucks blood. But what's the symbology of a vampire? A vampire is a parasite. That's the symbology of it. It's not just draining the blood, it's draining your energy. Okay? So we can look at that symbology in many factors of our life. You know, you might have a friend, or a so-called friend or person around you that just feeds off or makes you suffer just because it wants to feed off that lower vibrational energy, or a parasite itself in the body. So we want to look at the symbology, and you'll see a lot more validity to the information if you look at it that way, at the symbology of what it means. Anyway, let's move on. Now, at the moment, we're in the apex of an ascension, and ascension is a cyclic phenomena. With my channel, I've been channeled that the human being was created 2 million years ago in human time, or Earth years, let's say, and about 600,000 years ago was the first ascension. So there was quite a bit of time before we were introduced, and then there was an ascension. And that was because we were first created into a singularity reality of fear, okay? And hence why we have a sympathetic nervous system and some of these other things like the reptilian brain and those sorts of components, which are still kind of vital and being used for a lot of wild animals, because they have to survive every minute of the day. They're looking out for predators, right? Or ability just to survive the day and get your sustenance from food and all those sorts of things. But we've progressed from that point to the point now that really the sympathetic nervous system is really a pain in the ass, really, to be honest. It's causing a lot more harm than good, okay, in our situation now, because what happened with us, we kind of see ourselves as the pinnacle of all the other animals in the world, because our consciousness evolved itself to where we have it now, right? but we still need to use our consciousness in the right way and use our power, our intent in the right way, right? Because otherwise we can cause a lot of harm at the same time. Don't need to go into that. I think we understand that. And so what happened was we were in a singularity of fear, and then when this source energy came part and parcel of also this reality, all of a sudden a duality was created. Now this singularity energy of love, when it entered, enabled our consciousness to evolve itself, okay? So it's kind of like you were trapped within this reality and put into a reality where they could farm loose or fear energy from you. And then your higher perspectives of self, the other components of yourself that's outside of this reality, came to save you, essentially, okay? And when it brought that energy in, it needed to bring that singularity of love because it needed to evolve your consciousness while you were stuck in here. Because your consciousness and your awareness of what this place is, this reality, this place that you are in, is the key for you getting out of it. Coming back to the cyclic phenomena of ascension is, at the apex of an ascension, there is a window of time where you have a great connection with your higher perspectives of self, your source of where you come from, and that's going to give you greater intuition capabilities to figure it out and therefore use this window of opportunity to get out of here, okay? Hence the word of ascension, or to ascend, okay? So at the moment, we're in the apex of ascension, and what I've come to find is there's a particular term that binds us with our higher perspectives of self, like other versions of ourself, which we call quantum entanglement, okay? What that means is if something happens to one of them, it will affect the others, okay? We're all bound and connected to the same source of energy. That's called quantum entanglement. Now, I've found there's another form of entanglement that's within this reality, and it's called ascension entanglement, okay? Interesting, it just came up today, but it kind of connected a lot of dots together. And this is when, at the moment with the apex of ascension, we're also bound and connected to the apex of all the other ascensions that we've previously had. Even though they're all happening all at the same time, we're bound to time. We've got to kind of say past, future, present, right? But we feel what we were going through in other ascensions, because again, if we've been here, if we look at, again, the configuration of time, we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, so we've been here, a few lifetimes, okay, quite a few, right? So we've been through cycles of ascension. As I say, the first ascension started 600,000 years ago, and it's cyclic, and it comes around and comes around. It's that window of opportunity to get you out of here, and we've failed. We've continually to fail, and we need to understand what we did wrong in those failures of ascension to get it right and to get out of here, right? And get our sovereignty back and our free will. So we're feeling every ascension that we've been part of right now, okay, through what we call ascension entanglement, okay? So a lot of those things that you once had, like say you had a problem or a health problem in a previous ascension, well, that's going to come up to the surface and you're going to feel it now. Now, a perfect example might be this. Somebody might be having issues with acid reflux. They go and get a scope done, where a scope gets put down to see why they're having acid reflux. They can't see any problem why, but they're having this burning sensation. Now, that is a perfect example of ascension entanglement. In a previous ascension, you had that problem, but you feel that now at that specific time within that cycle of ascension through ascension entanglement, if you understand what I mean by that. So we're going through a lot, okay? So, but by us feeling what we felt like in other ascensions or other past lives, it gives us an ability to then focus on it, give us some focus to it, so we can then address it and then figure out the problem, okay? Because that's what we're here, to figure out the problem, and then we can leave this place. Okay, so that's what's happening at the moment. And there's two aspects of what created this world and then what's trying to get us out of this world. What's getting us out of it, trying to get us out of this world, is that high perspectives of self, our source energy that's outside of this reality. And there's also something that's keeping us in within it. And that's what we're going to talk about in another video. So we'll stop it there in regards to that topic. Now, facets of duality. Okay, so there's some facets of duality, and I'm going to name them now. Now, the first one I'm going to name is conflict. Okay, when we look at a duality, we look at polar opposites, and between the polar opposites, in the middle, is this friction, and that creates conflict. So that's why we've had a reality of so much conflict through duality. Okay, so that's why we've had conflict. But conflict can be a thing that we can, if we use, again, our consciousness in the right way, we can figure out why we're having the conflict, what the lesson was to be learned, and that's hence why this world has had karma as part of the duality process. Again, another facet of duality is karma. Is the whole thing that a challenge comes to you, and if you understand the lesson it's trying to teach you, then you stop that remanifestation or that recycling of that karma. If not, it will just keep remanifesting until you figure it out. Okay, that's karma. And karma's been a huge integral part of a duality. Okay, another component, facet of duality has been the soul, and we've already talked about the soul, and because it's the recycling mechanism of this reality. Okay, the other one and the last one is collective consciousness. Okay, and you would have heard of that term, people saying, we need to be one. Now, the need to be one is nothing to do with a collective consciousness. It's to be one with your true self, which is your source self outside of this reality. Okay? That's to be one. So we've kind of been hoodwinked in regards to this collective consciousness. We have to understand that to have a collective consciousness, for us to all be one, we need to have the same perception of reality. And I tell you that is impossible. Okay, that's impossible. What we can do, though, is we can understand that we're all individuals and that we're all going to have different perceptions of reality or perspectives of reality, and we need to respect each other's, and we need to actually appreciate everyone being uniquely different. Okay? So it's a complete opposite to a collective consciousness. Okay, so collective consciousness, another facet of this duality reality. So currently, the energies that we've been having, and I've been talking about in a previous video, update video, that this karmic energy is being shifted out because the duality reality is being shifted out. Okay? So a lot of our fields are currently transitioning and changing at the moment because all that karmic energy is left. Okay, the need for karma is no longer needed at this point in time. Ascension energies are now allowing to resurface or purge things of our evolution out, as I said, from previous ascensions. This whole ascension entanglement issue. Okay, but again, if we look at it in the positive way, it's our ability to regain all those memories from previous lifetimes, which we call the Akashic records. We can just call them as memories, okay? Because all this stuff no longer serves you to becoming one with your true self again, okay? So this is why this has all been coming up. Now, I want to talk about the sacred lotus flower. Now, I've been making this tool, and this is a new tool that we've got here, and you can purchase it at my product store, and it's called, well, originally I got this design from the what's it called? Oh, the Cosmic Sun Disk. Okay, and then I had a whole lot of other things happen in regards to renaming that, and the word was ascendant. Okay, and the ascendant has the sacred lotus flower as part of the geometry of it. Okay, so this is the ascendant here. So I sell it in this size, also sell it in a smaller size, which is more as a pendant or placed in your pocket. This is a bigger size, either one still gives out the same energy. Now what this symbolizes is all our higher perspectives of self and our source self all is one. Okay? So very powerful geometry. Now, but when I looked up, okay, the sacred lotus flower, what does it represent? This is what came up straight away. And I just Google searched this. Now, the sacred lotus flower represents our ascendance from earthly struggle to enlightenment. Okay? And that is what that is. It's the ascendant. It's allowing us to ascend outside of this prison world or this entrapped reality which Earth is a part of. It was very powerful. I couldn't believe it. My jaw was floored. Okay, so let's jump quickly into the higher selves. Okay, up to this point we look at, okay, it's another version of us in another reality. Let's go a little bit further and say the higher selves are a higher perspective of self. Okay, so it's like parts of your wisdom that you're regaining back again. Okay, so they can see, you can see more of the picture. As I say, we've been bound to time within this reality. We've got to take one foot step ahead of the other. But if we've got a higher perspective of ourselves, which is not bound to time, we can see the whole picture, right? Wouldn't that's helpful, of where we need to go and what we need to be, and revisiting or rediscovering who we are, okay, our true self. And that's why we channel them, okay? That's why we channel our higher selves. There's not one, there's more aspects of you, okay? And it's like, I guess the analogy I like to use, it's like a ladder of rediscovering yourself. You take the next step up and you rediscover a bit more about yourself. And as you go another step, another piece of the puzzle comes in, until we get to source, which is at that pinnacle of the top of the tree. And that is your true self, okay? Now, the last thing I want to leave on before we finish is something very interesting came up in regards to what we call the geopathic field. Geopathic field is, you know, the geology, or the environment that you're within, okay? And quite often we work in the geopathic field when we're working on somebody's home, or let's say they're always having bad luck or problems in their home, okay, or bad luck in their workplace or whatever. And quite often we'll work on the workplace itself or their home, but quite often the geopathic field is a big chunk of the clearings we do. And quite often I hear people, you know, they had so many problems happen in one home, and then they end up selling their house because they want to get out of it and they start afresh. But what was told to me was the geopathic field is essentially you taking your home with you. So that field's part of you. So even though if you move from one house to another, you're taking all that energy with you. Because and straight away what that kind of connected to me was that saying about where you lay your hat is your home, right? Or so what we need to understand is wherever we go, we make our home, okay? It's called the geopathic field. So what we need to understand there is we can't kind of drop things of the past and let them go, because they'll catch up with you. And again, that connection with karma, because you take everything with you within this field, okay? So I thought we'll finish it there, as these videos get very long, but this is vital information that I really wanted to share with you. I'm very excited about it and where it's going to take us in regards to clearings and helping people, not only with health problems, but their whole ascension process. Because our Dharma, every single one of us, our Dharma, our purpose, is to ascend, okay? Is to have sovereignty and choice in what we want to do and what we want to learn, okay? This is everything. And a lot of the clearings we're doing now for people that do have specific health problems, they're all bound and connected to ascension problems, okay? So if we can focus on ascension, but understanding the reality of things more than anything, will give us the key in regards to ascension. We're getting closer to it. Anyway, look out for the next video. We're going to talk about a specific component of what's been trapping us in this reality for a long time. Very interesting stuff. You'll love it. Okay. Until next time. Bye.